O Show. This is the Big 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 O Show. This is...
Oh, I think I know what this is. Houston, we have a package. Hello?
No matter where you are, the Sloman Shield home security system guards your home. With next-gen perimeter protection, 24/7 monitoring, and interior motion sensing. And right now, get a free Sloman Shield security system and doorbell camera, all professionally installed, for free.
Shield your world, the Sloman Shield.
When presenting an award to an employee, athlete, executive, or fantasy GM, make sure you call Orvieto's Awards and More. For 35 years, these custom award specialists have been providing plaques, trophies, custom framing, while providing state-of-the-art laser and computerized engraving, UV printing, and glass crystal etching. They do all their engraving and printing in-house for quality control. Call Charles at 305-949-8098 or visit them at orvietosawards.com. Orvieto's Awards and More, where recognition is rewarding. With more than 62 years of litigation experience handling insurance disputes, Welton Rayom is committed to resolving even the toughest insurance claims quickly. At Welton Rayom, they don't get paid unless you win. They handle complex personal injury claims caused by the fault of another in both state and federal courts. They handle auto, trucking, motorcycle, slip and fall, and bicycle accidents. Call 954-966-4646. That's 954-966-4646. Welton Rayom can help.
Jamming, I wanna jam it with you. Jamming, and I wanna like jamming too. Yo, this is Steve Marley, yo. And on May the 4th, I'll be in Immokalee at the Seminole Casino Hotel with the legendary Inner Circle. See? We see you there. Rastafari love. And I'm jamming with you, yeah. Jamming, yeah. And I'm jamming too, yeah.
The viewpoint statements or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of FantasyXS.com, Media Group Inc., ownership, management, sponsors, or website. When it comes to South Florida sports teams, very few in the media have witnessed, lived, and covered it like the Big O. Let's start the program dedicated to your favorite South Florida teams with a passion that's unmatched. The Big O Radio Show is on. Here's the Big O.
Alrighty. Sorry about that. All right, we are ready to rock and roll. Welcome aboard. Let me pull up the chat board. First of all, give me the thumbs up that audio is kosher and that you're hearing everything just fine. I just want to make sure that the audio is kosher. So I just want to make sure. Here we go. We are in pick 53. Cleveland's 54. Miami is 55. Okay, thank you. I'm getting the thumbs up. Everything good. Awesome. Keon Coleman went first overall to the stinking Bills. Then it went Ladd McConkey, another wide receiver that went to Georgia. So we had 7 in the first round, 2 in the first 2 picks. My boy Rook went third overall. So I guess, I wanted Latu last night, and he went a lot earlier. And I wanted Rook, and apparently the Falcons liked him too. They took him at 35. Johnny Newton, or Zerhan Newton, whatever, the Illinois kid, goes to Washington at 36. Jalen Polk, the wide receiver, goes to the Patriots. So 3 wide receivers already in the first 4 picks. Tavondre Sweat, the defensive tackle from Texas, goes to the Titans at number 38. Ben Sinnott, tight end for Kansas State, just went to the Commanders right now, by the way, at number 53. So now we've got Cleveland, and we'll see if, Chris Greer stays at 55 or he trades out. Braden Fisk, the FSU DT, goes to the Rams at 39. Cooper DeJean, Tomato, Iowa cornerback, goes to the Eagles. Kool-Aid McKinstry, Saban's boy, goes to the Saints at 41. Kamari Lassiter is at 42 to the Texans, the Georgia CB. Then Max Melton, the Rutgers CB, a run on CBs now. Overall, 43 to the Arizona Cardinals. Jackson Powers Johnson, who could have been a target for the Dolphins from Oregon, the center, he goes 44 to the Raiders. So the Raiders get the tight end and they get the center, huh? Interesting. Number 45, Edrin Cooper, the Texas A&M linebacker, goes to the Packers. At 47, Tyler Nubin, the Minnesota safety, goes to the Giants at 47. The pick is in for Cleveland, by the way. Miami is next. Then Mason Smith, the LSU defensive tackle, goes to the Jags at 48. Chris Jenkins, legacy player. The other Chris Jenkins played for the Dolphins. Michigan DT went to the Bengals at 49. Mike Sainistril, the Michigan DB, he went to Washington at 50. Zach Frazier, the center from West Virginia, goes to the Steelers at 51. Adonai Mitchell, the Texas wide receiver, goes to the Colts at 52. And the pick for the Browns is in. I'm sure it's already out there anyways, right? I'm sure if I look up in Twitter, it's probably there already at this point, right? They probably mentioned it already because they're breaking these things ahead on Twitter. Let's see where we at here. Give me a damn selection. So the Browns went with Michael Hall. Is that what it is? Yep, Michael Hall. Oyefusi. How about that? Former Dolphin writer. He's now with the Browns. And so Ohio State goes with Michael Hall. So the Miami Dolphins are now on the clock, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? So you see, Mason Smith was taken. Brendan Dorian, the Oregon, the defensive end, has he been taken yet? Did I read him off? That's a guy that's there. My boy Cooper Beebe is there from K-State. Did Christian Haynes, was he taken? No, Christian Haynes is there. That is Sean's guy. Christian Haynes is another guy that is still there that we talked about. There's a couple guys out there. Now, we'll see. They could go, remember I told you, they could go wide receiver. They could go interior offensive lineman. And I don't know if there's a defensive tackle at this point that they would go for. So we got the pick in for the Browns. Let me see what we got going on here, ladies and gentlemen. See if we got anything. Oh, yeah, Richmond Webb is making the call, by the way. Haven't seen anything yet. If anybody helps me out there with the pick, if you see something on social medias, let me see what we got. The pick is in. No, it says 240. Well, maybe mine. Oh, okay. Now the pick is in. Now mine just refreshed to the pick is in. Okay. Oh, here's Richmond Webb coming out to the front. I was a little behind, actually, because I rewinded for something else. So it's Richmond Webb making the selection. Patrick Paul, offensive tackle, Houston. That's who ends up going to the Miami Dolphins. How about that? Richmond Webb, the offensive tackle, calls the pick at number 55 for Patrick Paul, offensive tackle from Houston. Okay. All right. I like it. I like it. I like it. All right. By the way, what first team all Big 12? Okay. I'm trying to pull out some feelers while I'm talking to you guys. Okay, here we go. All right. So I'm going to put out some feelers and see if I actually can get any bites at this time for Patrick Paul, because some of these people they're in the middle of their own drafts. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of a challenge for them. But I'm going to check with a couple guys. Okay. Anyway. We'll see if we got something there. All right. Let me see if I can reach out to another guy there. Okay. All right. Beautiful. Might get something there and get some nuggets. By the way, besides Patrick Paul, I want to give you a little insight on a couple of other things from Chop yesterday. I got a couple of more reports. Now I can take this thing off and I can actually put our show on here on this one. Let's do that. There we go. Now I've got the chat board like right in front of me. Yeah, Richmond looking good, man. So a couple things. I guess good and bad, but we got to be fair, right? We got to call it like we see it. So here's one person that I know. He's pretty high up in an organization. Okay. So you might be able to tell with the way he worded things. Here's on Chop Robinson. Ran a fast 40, not much production, 20 pressures and 2 sacks. He's twitching quick, undersized, and a non-factor against run. Hence, Michigan throwing 8 passes in that game and bludgeoning him at point. He has upside, but will need to develop a counter move. His only upfield or loop stunning now. Thought he was way overhyped, more of a second rounder, but our coaches really liked him. Okay? So you could tell that there was a difference of opinion, that the coaches really liked him. He didn't like him as much. He thought he needed a little bit more work. Now here's another one. The most explosive, physical, and gifted player as a pass rusher. So he's really not talking about run stuffer, which is what the other scout is talking about. Room to grow and still has some development with his rush skill set, but you can't teach his motor and aggressive finish. He has it all, and a DL coach should be chopping at the bit to coach him because he's already mentally ready to go. Big plus for them with the injuries to that position. So he loved him, overall. So Chop is one of those guys that's got really good reviews for me. But I did want to read you something that was a little bit of the other side, to be fair, because most of my guys really ended up looking. Okay, here we go. Okay, starting offensive tackle, can play either side, huge frame, and great length. Average feet, but massive player. Okay, that's one scout that just chimed in on the Dolphins' newest draft pick. So you got something there at least. Okay. If I get more, I will definitely pass it on. Let me thank him because he's doing this in the middle of his own draft. So it's like very nice. And he's in an NFC team, actually. So, by the way, the two guys, the one that didn't like him was an NFC person. I'm not going to say what kind of position. And then the one that loved him was in the AFC. Okay. The guy that loved him sounded to me like their team was targeting him too, by the way. And they did need pass rush. So that the way he spoke about him, he was effusive, bro. He was just he was going at it. Like he was really, into it. So what else do we have? Hope Chop doesn't turn out like Jordan. You guys are all parrots, bro. You're all parrots. One person says Deion Jordan, and then it's just like everybody goes with Deion Jordan or the other guy, the other linebacker that went to Detroit and actually played better in Detroit than he did here. It's like you just go with the guy that's a bust, and that's it. And then every single tool follows him and repeats. You people are parrots at times. You don't even think for yourselves. It's really amazing, actually. But, what are you going to do? It's just one of those things. Let me just lean to whatever negativity, and then everybody else will repeat it. It's Charles Harris, exactly. That's the same two players that every moron is using now in the Dolphin Nation. Well, I hope he's not Deion. I hope he's not Charles Harris. No shit. It's the line I love. Oh, well, Greer better hit on this guy, Chop Robinson. Shouldn't he hit on all first-round picks? I'm sorry, I forgot. Like, there's a freedom to missing on the pick? Boy, he's really got to hit on it. No shit. Really, dude. He's got to really hit on this pick. Chop better not be a bust. Yeah, no, because Reggie McKenzie, Marvin Allen, Chris Greer and company, they're just sitting around going, darts, darts, darts. What'd you get? Oh, I hit Chop. Me too. I got close. All right, there you go. We're going with Chop. If he hits, he hits. I love that fan. Well, he better hit on that guy. He better be a winner. He better be a no shit. Really? You think they're drafting a first rounder for fun or a second rounder just for, shits and giggles? Let's hang around and, who gives a shit if they hit on it or not? I love that. Like the fan thinks like there's this urgency, like you've got to hit, and you think the people in the personnel department are like, who cares? Let's go play 9 holes. There's enough sun. It just really, fans sometimes, it's just, there's no realism to everything that they say. It's just crap that you're throwing out there, and you're not even thinking about what you're saying. Greer 100% finds studs in the second round. He's been our best drafter in forever, dude. Please. So it's just not even close. Problem with us has been the injuries the last 2 years more than anything else. Big O, you said in the AM, you need to give them a chance to accumulate themselves. Damn, you're not at your best your first start your job. Exactly. It's just ridiculous. I can't figure out why our fans act this way. What happened to the days of being excited about new players? And because it's just the negativity. People that are negative, they're the ones that talk the most. They're the ones that run their mouths. Okay, when you go to the restaurant, you rarely ever tell the maitre d', hey, can you tell that chef that was the best lobster, steak, whatever I had? But if you got hair in your soup, or the steak is undercooked, or what, they're going to hear from you, because you're all quick to complain. And that's how we are generally in our society. We don't take the time to thank somebody. We don't take the time to be, generous a lot of times. We're not that way, dude. We're just not that way. And it's your fault because you feed off negativity. You're the idiots clicking the worthy article at 21. You're the idiots clicking the Michael Penix. So the media knows that they can push your buttons even for stuff that makes no sense whatsoever. And then what do? You then repeat it and go out, Albert Wilson's going to be phenomenal. And why? Because you got a couple of beat writers that got completely suckered on it. So they kept writing about Albert Wilson. I had him here on my show too. And I would tell them, yeah, no. But then they feed you that bullshit because it fills space. But at no point was Albert Wilson going to be any kind of a major factor for the offense. And neither was the other kid from this year. What's his name? That also they started to talk about him chosen. Robbie Anderson. Like, have you watched this guy? Not a good football player. What's wrong with you? What? But they feed you bullshit, and then you guys go with it. And that's our problem, man. So the negativity is the easiest thing to feed you. Oh, it's a cap crisis. No, it's not. There's no cap crisis. Nobody can sign 8 draft picks in 2 years. You hit on a bunch in 2 years, this year and next year. So you're only going to sign the quarterback. You're going to pass up on these guys, and you're going to sign the next wave. That's what it's not a cap crisis. It's cap management, which everybody has to do it. People cut players all the time. Cincinnati will be having to cut them or trade them soon because they're not paying Hendrickson. They're not paying T. Higgins. They didn't pay Boyd. That's just kind of the way it is, because you're going to have to give up players, whether you like it or not. But let me sell you cap crisis because that's what sells negativity. And that it's your fault. You feed into negativity. You live in negativity. So the first thing you gravitate to is negativity. Instead of waiting for it to happen, no, let's just say it's already happened. So it's just funny, man. It really is. By the way, you can make a donation through Cash App or Venmo at Cash Big O Show. That is Cash Big O Show. Cash App or Venmo. We always appreciate the donation, and you can make a Bitcoin donation. And my man Ray Martinez for smart pick by the GM. Next should be a safety. I think they do want one in the third day if they can get one. Now we do have to wait because they might trade back in because they were trying to trade back into the first round. Okay. So thank you very much, Ray. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you for the Bitcoin donation. That's my favorite donation, a Bitcoin donation. And by the way, right now, it's on a nice little dip. So thank you. It's at 63,190. It just dropped badly right now, which is so sweet. Sweet drop. So your timing could not have been better, Ray. on that donation. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that immensely. That's very nice of you. Here we go. Patrick Paul, Houston tackle. I'll give you this as an executive. Tall, talented, not as good as much as Guyton, who went in the first. Very confident in himself, a potential starter in a year. Now, if you're in the 55th pick, you're not supposed to be as good as Guyton. But he said tall, talented, not as good as much as Guyton, who went in the first round, but very confident in himself, a potential starter in a year. What happens in a year? I love this GM. I love Greer, Allen, and McKenzie, because this year you go to war with Jackson and Teron Armstead, and then you have your experienced backup in Kendall Lamb, correct? And you got a couple of other guys that can play right tackle, Conklin, whatever, guys that you might be able to shuffle around there. And then here you go. You're developing Keon Smith. Keon Smith played well when he filled in. So now you've got Keon Smith, and now you got Paul. So now you got two more tackles that you're brewing to take over. Remember what I told you. I think Austin Jackson goes to left tackle next year when Teron is gone, because knowing Chris Greer and company, they're going to want to go, well, hey, man, we're paying this guy for the next 3 years, $12 million. So let's go pay him while he does it on the left tackle side. And then we've developed Paul and Keon, and we'll have them play on the right side. The loser is the swing. So whether Keon, who's now going to be experienced with 3 years in his experience now after this season coming up, he might be ready. And then Paul's the swing guy. And so now you're kind of protecting, because you're kind of foreshadowing now. You know, this is foresight. This is what you're supposed to do with teams. So for those of you that were worried about the offensive line, this is smart stuff right here. And so far, the reviews I'm getting are pretty good overall for him. Okay, you know, you're not going to get a polished up product in the second and third rounds. They're going to have they're going to have warts in the first round. They're going to have warts in the second round. They're going to have warts in the third round. That's just kind of the way it is. Everybody's got warts. When we're all young, we all have warts in everything that we do in life, as I explained today on the show. Okay, you graduate from law school, you're not a finished lawyer. You graduate from medicine, you know, from being a doctor, immediately you're not the best surgeon ever at that point, or the best doctor, or the best psychologist, or the best salesman, saleswoman, whatever it is. Okay, your first year of sales at 23 is completely different than at 43 when you got 20 years in. The first time you are a real estate agent and you go show a house, it's probably an effing disaster the way you do it. 15 years later, you're like, now I know how to do it. I know how to do an open house. I know how to do it all. I know how to do it where I can reach people, bam, bam, boom. Why? Because you got experience. So just remember, because too many of you have this thing that you think like everybody you get is going to be a finished product, and they're not going to have some warts, and they're not finished yet as a player. No, that's kind of the way it goes. You kind of have to grow. We all grow, but somehow or another, some of you don't even want to let young people grow. Didn't they let you grow? Again with the negative shit. Greg Cosell of NFL Films, who's been analyzing film for 30, 40 years and very credible, says Chop is a great player and pick. Yeah. I saw his report like 2 weeks ago, or a week and a half ago or something. I think that's the show he does with Doug Farrar, if I remember. My buddy Doug Farrar. He's a good dude, really good. I got to get Doug on, by the way. I should get Doug on after the draft. Nick, you know what? I'm going to get Doug on next week. I'm going to talk to Doug and get him on. Greg's a good dude, by the way. I had lunch with him once at the Combine. I don't know him personally at all. But that night, obviously, I was friendly with him and talked, but he probably would have known me from Adam from that day. We ate a Buca de Pepos I remember it. We ate a Buca de Pepos My boy Doug Farrar was in there in that get together. It was like 8 different people in the business, and Greg was there, and he was very nice. But I don't know him personally at all. So first job, you don't know what you don't know. Exactly, Jim. But our football draft picks, no, Jim, they've got to know everything. Absolutely everything, because Duncan Robinson is the player now that he was 4 years ago. Right, Jim? Oh, it's the silliest thing in the world, bro. Silliest shit in the world, Just like, it's so unfair what we do to players that we don't do to ours. We don't hold ourselves to the same standard that we hold these players. It's just the craziest crap in the world, dude. It really is. Okay. Just thanking again. I got to thank these people because they're doing this in out of the blue in the middle of their jobs, So what can I tell you? Okay. 8 man of 1,005 votes. Thank you for the love on the super chat. Greer knows what he's doing. Fan base. Well, some of the fan base, not. I think a lot of people overall appreciate where we're at right now with the Dolphins, and we just need luck, dude. Can I just get a little luck the last 2 years? Just please eliminate 70% of the injuries. That's all I'm asking. 70%. Give me most of my players back, okay, as a fan, in the last 2 years. Give me my quarterback back and a few more players for Buffalo last year. And then give me, again, 70% of whatever I was missing, Give me back. Give me my offensive line. Give me my linebackers. Give me a chance. Give me a chance. And then maybe, maybe you can start winning, a playoff game. Because it's not like you have a coach that's Shula or Spo. Mike McDaniel is not anywhere near those. Oh, by the way, are we not? Wait, why don't we just fire Mike McDaniel? We can't allow him to grow as a coach? I was just thinking about that. Yeah. Yeah, because he's unpolished. That must make some of you Dolphin fans very unhappy that you have an unpolished coach, because the unpolished player is unacceptable. Yeah, every draft pick's got to be a diamond, bright and shiny. Nothing wrong with them. I mean, that's the way it's got to go, right? Zachary Gibbons, I wish the Dolphins had traded back, but I understand why they didn't. Yeah, they must love the kid. Or like yesterday, they probably didn't get a trade that was worthy of moving out. And it's the same thing. Maybe they had an offer, but it was like, nah, not worth it. We really like this guy. We really like this guy. So they took the player. I could tell you for sure that they love Chop. It's so obvious if you read it. There was such a run on offense that by that time, they probably said to themselves, now we're reaching for the offensive linemen that are left, because they must have a little more holes, okay, overall. So they're like, you know what? This guy is exactly what we want. And we've had Weaver, clamoring for him, and the linebacker coach clamoring for him, or whatever, and all that. And so they went with Chop because he was clearly way better than anything they wanted on offense at that point. And then if they take this kid now, then that tells me, okay. Big O, thanks for being a real reporter and not a sensationalist trash. It's because, you know why, Sean? I work for myself. It's just me and Sean, dude. Sean, it's just me and the other Sean, and we work for ourselves. So it's our name on it, and I can be sensationalistic so I can get more views and I can do all that kind of shit. And I can, the Tua Penix thing, and that would have gotten thousands more views, but that's not who I am. I'm just not going to do that, man. I've never been that guy. I'm going to call it like I see it. Period. End of story. I'm going to tell you that Flo's going to get fired in the middle of a winning streak, and you're going to freak out on me, but it's not sensationalistic. Right? Right? A year ago, I told you, hey, Wilkins is gone. And sure enough, everybody else was talking, oh, no, they got to sign him. No, they're going to tag him. No, he's the heart and soul of the defense. No, he's not. That's not how he's viewed. He's out of here. But, I don't need to play that stretch game and do all those shows about with Wilkins. Oh, what a leader. They can't let him go. When I know deep down inside he's gone already. Then what am I going to do? Drag you people through this so I can sensationalize it for months? Sure, it's better for me. I will make slightly more money. But how about my credibility? Yeah, nah. I'm good. I'd rather tell you just the way it is, and you may not like it. You may dislike me for it. You may appreciate me for it, but I don't BS you guys. I tell you straight up what I think is going on, and just check the track record. So, it's just one of those things, man. What am I being sent here? Okay. Anyway, so that's why, Sean, that's how I carry it, man. That's how I do it, because I'd rather somebody not bullshit me. You know what I mean? And so I'd rather do it that way. Do you think the Dolphins go after Luke McCaffrey with the 5th round pick? Julio, you're asking me about something that's 3 rounds away. We don't even know who's available at that point, my friend. So we have to wait and be patient at this moment and wait to see what's off the board. And then tomorrow we'll get together at one point during the day, and I'll come on and we'll talk about the picks. I'll come on. You know what I was thinking about? I might do it now instead. I might do a couple of shows tomorrow, one right prior to the 5th round, and then that way I can try and put some feelers out like I normally do and get you some recap from some of these folks on what the picks are. And you're getting them straight from personnel people in the NFL. You're not getting it from some slapdick or anything like that. You're getting it from NFL people. So maybe I'll do that in the 5th round, and then in the 6th round, and then in the 7th round. So I might do 3 shows tomorrow. But they'll be short like they have been the first 2 nights. I'm not going to be on for hours because I'm one guy, and you can only talk so much, and I can't burn out my voice. And you guys know when I do my talk show, I don't do the bullshit crap that they do on radio where they talk about 28 minutes and have 32 minutes of commercials in an hour. That's not what we do. You guys know I talk like 55, 56 minutes, and there's like 2 to 3, 4 minutes of commercials in an entire hour, because it's about content. It's not about keeping you guys waiting in commercial breaks. That's passe, bro. That's not how we do things anymore. That's the other thing that I don't do, but they used to do in all those other places, So, do want to remind you, Welton Rayom, a proud sponsor of our program. So call Jeffrey Welt and Daniel Rayom, folks. They do it all: personal injury, bankruptcy, homeowner property damage, condo damage, criminal defense, business owner claims, commercial litigation. Call Jeffrey and Daniel, 954-966-4646, Welt and Rayom. So you're saying you're not auditioning for... Nice one. I like it, Chris. You're a hardcore. You know your shit. You saw it today or yesterday, right? It was yesterday with that dude. Yeah. Too funny. Yeah, do a few shows if you can. I think I'll do it that way. I can't stay on for hours. I just can't do that. Big O, most people here will hate the rest of our picks already way before actually they do pick. I got to tell you something. Those of you that want to be negative, you go ahead and live in that world, man. I love what the Dolphins are doing. I'm super frustrated at the end of the year, the last 2 years, because it hasn't gone the way that I would like, the way you guys would like. But I love the direction we're going in. You guys want to, be sourpusses because of the past. I've mentioned this many, many times. You got to leave the past, man. I think we're headed in the right direction. We just need a little luck this year, dude. A little luck this year, and I think people then get more on the bandwagon. But what I was going to tell you is, from the reviews I get from Chop, I think you should be incredibly excited because they got a super quality individual that wants to be a pro. They didn't get some NIL punk, which is very dangerous in today's world, that you end up with these NIL punks that are never happy and they're moving from school to school and all that. This is a lunch pail guy. This is Jason Taylor. This is what Chubb is. This is what Jalen Phillips is. This is what Christian Wilkins is. This is a guy that wants to play, wants to work hard. Okay, I don't know how good or great he'll be. I can't tell you that. But what I can tell you is he has the motor that you cannot teach that shit. You can't. You cannot teach a person that wants to be relentless. And I don't care what it is in any walk of life. You cannot teach relentless. There's a reason why they took a chance on Tyreek, because in his own way, he is relentless. So you take the bad with the good, right? And as I've told you already for over a month, they've had enough of that already. They gave up on that. He'll be gone next year. But, they took the chance. And they'll ride it out, and they'll ride it out for this third year, and then, they'll move on. That's what's going to happen. But, and by the way, because you didn't get the receiver, the Odell Beckham stuff picks up now after the draft. Unless something happens in the third day that they get something that they are completely freaked out by, and they think they don't need him. So please don't compare him to Taylor. Dolphin, see, that's the problem with you people. You're not smart enough to listen. You overreact and think I'm calling him a Hall of Famer when all I'm comparing is motors. Okay? He doesn't have Darryl Gardner's motor. He has Tim Bowen's motor. He has a Jason Taylor motor. He has a Chubb motor. He has a Jalen Phillips motor. He has character. So he has all the foundational things to make you successful. But you go ahead, my brother. That's the problem in this world. There's no sanity in you. So you just blind yourself, and then you hear Jason Taylor. Oh, he's calling him a Hall of Famer. Never said that. At no point. But you could go ahead and tell your friends, hey, Big O's a moron. He called Chop Robinson Jason Taylor Hall of Famer. He even had a gold jacket on him. Being Cuban, run with it. Have at it, bro. Smorgasbord. Knock yourself out. That's what I deal with right there. That's what I deal with. Dolphins, whatever the hell. There you go. The guy that has no logic, doesn't listen, just kind of ignorant. Here's one word, Jason Taylor. Oh, he must be saying he's a Hall of Famer. Nope, never said that. Never said that. Trace Armstrong, motor, exactly. I'm telling you the people you're used to seeing with a motor, okay? Not all of them are Jason Taylor, but they got motors. And that's all I'm telling you. Randy Starks, he's got that all these good players had. He has it. And that's why I'm telling you, get excited. Those are the kind of cats you want to get behind. The quality human being that has all the potential to be one hell of a football player. But you got to give him an opportunity, and then you got to teach him. That's all. Big O, you can't teach Chop's work ethic as well as He can be a good prospect when a player wants to put in the work. That's my point. He was already there at camp today. He's one of those dudes that loves football, and coaches love guys that love football. You know, that's why I love it. Yeah, and there you go, Ray Ruiz. Character is huge. Amen, man. Of course, character is huge. Why do you think Tyreek Hill will not be here in 2025? That's the word right there, baby. Character. They're like, no, basta, no podemos más. It's over. We can't. We're done. We're moving on. And they're moving on. And so he's playing next year. He's playing for the Dolphins, and he's playing for 30 other teams next year. So he has to be a good boy, because he and his agent got the message sent. They needed money, bro, and they turned over every rock, every couch. They went into every ashtray that they had in every car, everywhere. They dug up money in guys that weren't making that much money. And they still, oh, no, we just, sorry, dude, we need to, guarantee you $500,000. Well, that's all I'm going to make. Well, yeah, great. Well, here you go. Now you're going to get it right away. All right, good. We'll break it up in a bonus. They were taking money from anything and everything. And they never went and said, hey, Tyreek, we need some money. And you got a whole lot of cap space for us there. He didn't. He wasn't part of anybody's off-season stuff. When Tua needed two guys in Hawaii, what character did he pick? Teron Armstead and Jalen Ramsey. Impeccable, like him. That's what he wants around the kids. So he gone. So he knows that already. He knows it. If he's smart, he and his agent have had this conversation. Like, yo, dude, have you seen what's gone on? They have distanced themselves from you. So it's up to you. So it's all up to him. You can't control him. You cannot control him. So anyway. So what's it called? We should have taken Samutaya, but at least we drafted an offensive lineman. Okay. Can I say something about the Houston kid? Okay, I did this today on the show in the morning, because we did our normal show in the morning, and I'm going to say this now. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about a couple of other angles that people just don't talk about to kind of help you out, because I think overall they've done a pretty good job of drafting lately, and so I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt more than being negative about it. Okay, first of all, let me go back to Chop Robinson, because some of you heard this from the morning show and some of you didn't. Okay. So who did Chop Robinson play for? Play for Penn State, right? And who's their defensive coordinator? Oh, Manny Diaz. Does Manny Diaz know anything about defensive ends? Got the Quincy kid. Got Gregory Rousseau, who's playing in Buffalo, playing well. And we have Jalen Phillips. We already have a Manny Diaz disciple. Now we've got another Manny Diaz disciple. I don't know about you. It kind of makes me feel a little better. Kind of makes me feel, because I may not have a lot of respect for Manny Diaz, the head coach, just like Wade Phillips. But I have a ton of respect for Wade Phillips, the defensive coordinator, and I have a ton of respect for Manny Diaz, who had the number one defense in the country in Penn State. Now he's a head coach again, so, probably fail or whatever. Or maybe he learned or whatever. I don't know. Wish him the best, whatever. He's a nice guy. He's harmless. But he knows his freaking defense. So now let me ask you. We're not talking about the Houston kid, Paul. How have all the offensive linemen been performing now under McDaniel under Frank Smith, under Butch Berry. I don't know. Explain that one to me. Has Keon Smith not gotten better? Did Kendall Lamb not play his greatest football of his entire career here? Isaiah Wynn was coached by Dante Scarnecchia in New England, known as one of the greatest offensive line coaches the last 50 years in the NFL. Yeah, I just said that. One of the greatest offensive line coaches in the last 50 years. He's easily in the top 5. He's up there with Joe Bugle and all those legendary type of offensive line coaches that are known for it. He's up there with all of those guys. Maybe better than all of them, or they're equal, or whatever, or we're splitting hairs. And guess what? Isaiah Wynn could not turn the corner with him. Yet with these guys, he was playing well for 7 games until he got injured. Austin Jackson was a mess. Poor kid also then got injured, and then finally got healthy. And oh my God, look what ended up with him. Robert Hunt developed, right? Everybody. Then fill-ins came in and they survived. They weren't thriving, but they were surviving. They coach. So don't you think Butch Berry liked this Houston kid? Don't you think Frank Smith must have liked him? Don't you think Mike McDaniel must have liked him? So I kind of like this. I kind of feel better about things. Maybe you don't, but I do. Even Eichenberg was getting better. Poor guy, again, got the injuries at the end of the year, and he was on one freaking leg filling in. I wish he would have stayed healthy because I think he would have actually turned the corner and people would get off his ass also. I'm just telling you what I'm watching. I'm watching people that are competent now and know offensive line play and know how to coach these players up. So if you've taken this guy in the second round, I'm going to trust the people that have kind of earned my trust now the last couple of years. Not what was happening before Mike McDaniel, everything that's happening since Mike McDaniel. Offensive line only has gotten better. And then on the chop side, I'm like, well, wait a minute, dude. This is a Manny Diaz guy. And there's one thing I know about Manny Diaz, bro. He can't be a head coach, but I also know he knows his defense. And, bro, defensive ends, that son of a bitch can find NFL defensive ends. Just a caveat, just a couple of angles that most people won't look at, but I'll throw it out there, and then you chew on it and do whatever you want with it. But I love what they're doing, man. I love what they're doing, and I trust them overall. So when things turn the corner, I will be having fun, and I will be enjoying it because I've been enjoying it from the get-go. And those of you that just been a bunch of sourpusses, well, then that's your fault, not mine. Let's see. I bet Patrick Paul plays right guard this year before he kicks out to tackle. Aaron, I think you could be, because he's massive, that's maybe what they want to do with him. You never know. Big O, you're using too much logic and reasoning for these fans to understand. What I don't like at 55 is we took a guy who likely won't see the field in year. You mean like Patrick Surtain didn't see the field in year 1? Is that what you're talking about, dude? God, that worked out so poorly for them, right, dude? That Patrick Surtain could not overtake Terrell Buckley, huh? Yeah, man. What a shame, man. Wow, that Patrick Surtain career really went to shit because he really didn't do anything his rookie year. You're so right, bro. It's just so terrible to have foresight. And because you know the following year you're cutting Terrell Buckley and then the young guy you hope can take over. Wow. It's amazing. Yeah. I tell you, it just really makes no sense whatsoever to draft a guy that doesn't play his first year. Because, again, they all play the first year. You know? All of them. Every lawyer that comes right out of school and they hire him at a law firm, they put him right on murder trials. Didn't you know that? For sure, dude. Of course. Yeah, man. Yeah, everybody's a finished product. See what I'm saying? We were just talking about this. And there you go. There's the fan that thinks everybody that comes into the league has to be unlike the rest of us, an unfinished product when we start. Love it, bro. Absolutely love it. Yeah, man. Yeah. That Pat Surtain career, it was a real shitbag. It was absolutely terrible. Uber Beaner, thank you for the love on the super chat. I got good feels about our 2 picks. I just got good feels about the Miami Dolphins, period. Remember the first day of free agency? Throwing out the panic right away. And then after free agency's done, I don't know about you, but I'm sitting back going, wait a minute. I'd rather have Fuller than X. I'd rather have Jordan Brooks than Baker. The guy that I really lost was Wilkins, and I'm not paying him $27.5 million. So, okay, you can figure it out and try to overcome him down the line. And, okay, these are losses you got to take, and you got to make it. But overall, you're going to be able to overcome the rest. Then let's move. Let's go. Let's get healthy. If they're healthy, they'll be better than they were last year and the year before. That's what I tell everybody. That's my counter to everything. If you just have some luck, like a lot of other teams do down the stretch, and you're pretty healthy, I guaranteed the Dolphins have improved. That's the other thing. They sell you negativity. Oh, well, the Dolphins are going to be worse this year. No, dude. They were worse because they had their entire linebacking core out, you moron. They were worse because the entire offensive line practically was injured. You idiot. They were worse because X was running around on one leg. That's why they were worse. Don't give me this shit that they're going to be worse because they lost a couple players. No, bro, they were worse because we had geriatric linebackers playing in the final game of the season. We had 3 guys with AARP cards playing in Kansas City in frigid weather. Don't sell me this shit that the Dolphins are going to take a step back. If you give me health, they'll take 3 steps forward. But it's so easy to sell you unrealistic negativity because that's what keeps you in that moment so you can panic and cry and bitch and just blame people. When if you just sit back logically and you look at what's really going on, there's, the problems were a lot deeper. It's just the silliest thing in the world, dude. It really is. John Geeb, thank you for the love in the super chat, my brother. Fans can't go over acquisition of talent names versus players that fit the team and the mold. O-line GMs always killing it. Online GMs, I'm sorry, always killing it. That's right. They're always perfect. I'm glad Fins went inside out this year with their picks, which is correct way of building the team. I completely agree. They took 2 people that they needed on D and O line. It was a kind of draft that you had those options. So, Fangio preferred to sign retired dudes off the couch than give Channing. Well, yeah. He didn't play well with young players, obviously. And Tyndall, again, let's use logic. Okay? Tyndall's been a bust. There's no doubt about that. But Tyndall was drafted 3 defenses ago. That's a problem. So that you've changed defensive coordinators. It was a different defensive coordinator that you had him for, not the last guy you had now, and the old man, and not the next guy you have. That also, it's like Agba. You give him a contract, but a year later you have to fire Flores, and then once Flores leaves, and then you bring in the new type of defense. Well, then all of a sudden Agba doesn't fit it anymore. And it's not really Ogbah's fault. It's just you change the scheme. Again, we must use intelligence and logic and knowledge. And so you can put the puzzle the right way so you can explain it the right way. Now, he may end up actually finding his way in another scheme. And now that you changed it with Weaver, I don't know if he fits anything that Weaver does. We're going to find out. But has he been a bust? Yes. Has it been easy for him that you're changing systems? No. I'm going to defend him in that sense. I'm going to give him a break there because, again, as a young player, you're brought in for one system and then they've changed it from you twice now. And I don't know. I'm not smart enough to tell you if he fits anything that I can tell you this. He didn't fit anything that Fangio has done. So we'll see. We'll see. But again, he's been a bust. But the transition and the changes are not easy for the player because sometimes you're drafted to fit a scheme. And sometimes you don't fit that other scheme. We drafted Jamar Fletcher. We watched him. We watched them draft Jamar Fletcher here. Okay, Jamar Fletcher went on to play for 7-8 more years. But do you know why he went to go play for 7 or 8 more years somewhere else? Because he was a backup, but he was a zone player. He was a zone player at Wisconsin. And they drafted him in a man-on-man scheme because they thought they could convert him. And when he could not convert, he could not be part of the system. And so in the end, he was a bust, but he then really wasn't a total waste because he found the scheme he fits in. So sometimes a player fails because they're not in the right scheme. And sometimes the person drafting them should have known that and make sure you draft players that actually fit your scheme. And so Jamar Fletcher was a bust, but some of it wasn't his fault because you set him up for failure right away. But we don't look at it that way. You understand? We don't look at it that way, even though he played, and he probably should have never been a first rounder. But if you would have figured out he was a zone guy, you would have taken him maybe in the 3rd or 4th or 5th. And then he goes on to play 7, 8, 9 years. And you're like, oh, well, not a bad pick because he at least was serviceable for a while. You see what I'm saying? It's just the Ted Ginn thing. You draft him to be a number 1 and all that, and that's not who he is. Is that Ted Ginn's fault? No. Ted Ginn goes on to become a complimentary receiver for the next 10 years, and he had a fabulous career. Should he have been the number 9 overall pick? That's not Ted Ginn's fault. That's Randy Mueller and Cam Cameron, right? Those two were eating shit. And they weren't doing what they were supposed to do. And they didn't read the tea leaves the right way. So they drafted a guy and put him in a position to fail. And it's not his fault, but then we call him a bust. There is logic, there's intelligence to all of this. Pick up the knowledge so you're a better fan, so you can at least talk about it in the right way. And say, well, he's a bust. Yeah, he was, but there was more to it. Oh, well, that's excuses. Well, then, okay, you just want to be ignorant and move on. Go play in the highway. Let's see. Wow, Cam Kitchens is still available for a day 3, 3rd round. Well, if he gets through the 3rd round, we'll see now. I do like him myself, by the way. Brett says, please, cut out with the common sense and logic. I'm here. That gets you absolutely nowhere. LOL. Don't forget Jason Allen. Mountain Man, I love you, bro. I love you, bro. I love smart fans. Right. So you put Jason Allen and he can't read and react. You didn't know that? He was a guy that was like, see guy, run with guy, and that's all he could do. The second you tried to put him in space or safety or whatever, toast. Was it his fault? No, that's your fault, dude. That's your fault. You put him, you didn't even know he didn't have that skill set. You know, Eddie Moore. Is it really his fault? Well, guys, we needed a special team linebacker. Fuck, Wani. You take that shit in the 5th round. You don't take that shit in the 2nd round. So if you're a special teams linebacker, you should be in the 3rd day of the draft. Or I think in those days it was the 2nd day of the draft, right? Because I think it was like 1st, 3rd, 4th, 7th, right? So in those days, you should have been the 2nd day of the draft, right? Is it Eddie Moore's fault? Because everybody else that needs a special teams linebacker is like, well, all right, guys, we're headed into the 5th and 6th round, 7th round. And then that's where the special teams linebackers in the back. Hey, I need that linebacker. I want that corner. I need the gunner. But not Dave Wanstead. He gets the special teams linebacker in the 2nd round. We get Javon Holland nowadays in the 2nd round. That's kind of what we do now in the 2nd round. That's just, yeah, we got to have context. It's very important when we talk about football and we talk about the things that go on and the decisions that are made and who made the decisions and why they made the decisions and what is it that they're running and all those kind of things. So we're smarter fans. We're better fans. We have more tolerance. We have more understanding instead of just jumping the gun. Oh, don't compare him to Jason Taylor. You know, that's all I'm asking. People do not realize that maybe Wilkins does not fit the scheme for the new DL will play. No, Jim had nothing to do with that. It had to do with $27 million. They weren't paying him the money he asked for last year, and they certainly weren't paying him the money he asked for this year. It was, they did not value him like apparently a lot of us in the media do, fans and media. Okay? People have to come to the realization. You know, I was cruising around the other day and I was listening to Hawk and Crowder, right? And those guys do a terrific job. Okay, they have a lot of fun. They screw around, but I tell it like it is. I don't learn a goddamn thing there about sports. Okay, you listen to them and have some fun and laugh and all that, but Hawk throws out and this is kind of part of the problem. Well, you know, they screwed up and misjudged the whole Wilkins situation. No, they didn't do. They never wanted him. But you don't know that, but you can just throw that out and then other people will hear it and repeat it. You know, but again, he's not really a reporter. He doesn't have any insight, doesn't know anybody on any team or anything. He's not going to provide any real insight. So he's just going to screw. And, you know, they have a fun screwing around and doing what they do. They do a terrific job. But you're spewing misinformation. And that's what's constant here. They didn't want Wilkins. It's over. It was over last year. And if you haven't heard my show, he ran crazy through that building, mother effing everything when he didn't get his contract last year. Not this year, last year. And then they made you sound, remember all the press conferences where everything was hunky-dory and smiling and, oh, we'll talk at the end of the year and this and that and all that. And behind the scenes, he was a volcano exploding all over the place about not getting his contract and not getting paid what he was worth. But nobody found out about that unless you listen to this show, because we talked about it at the end of the year. Okay? Because I kind of sometimes I find out about stuff and I have to sit on it for a while. Okay? It's not fun, but you know, just one of those things that happens. Sometimes it happens often. Might have happened again. Don't know. But anyway, so I'm just saying that these are things that it goes out there and then people talk about it and it's just misinformation and it's just, And that's what I will correct here every single time. If I know different, okay, then I'm sure of it. I'll tell you. And the Wilkins thing, bet your life on it. They were done with him last year. There's a reason why a year ago I told you he's done. He ain't coming back. So, Cosa Nostra says, I'm never going to forgive you, the raging Dolphin maniac, for wanting Dante Culpepper for the second time around. He goes, I did not want Culcrapper, but I was scared of Bree's injured arm too. Well, that's everybody. Again, little insight on all of that. Are you guys ready for this? Okay, so Breeze becomes available and Culpepper becomes available. Saban makes the decision. He goes with Culpepper. He listens to the Dolphins doctors. They'd rather go with the knee than with the shoulder, correct? Okay. So what happened was the Dolphin doctors did not have a lot of experience with the shoulder. So they weren't sure if Breeze can come through it, and he wasn't a strong arm quarterback, not a big guy in the first place. So if you're not a strong arm quarterback and you end up losing arm strength, not a good conversation, not a good combination, correct? So, but guess what happened in New Orleans, ladies and gentlemen? I've told this story before a couple times. Aaron Brooks was there. Aaron Brooks was their quarterback for a few years. He was traded from the Green Bay Packers. Ron Wolf 1 year in an offseason in training camp. He had Kurt Warner. You guys know Kurt Warner, right? Yeah. They had Aaron Brooks. They had Mark Brunell. And they had some guy named Brett Favre. And Ron Wolf goes, yeah, I got too many quarterbacks. They cut Kurt Warner. He goes to the Arena League, eventually ends up in St. Louis a couple years later. The rest is history. You know what I'm talking about. He trades Aaron Brooks to Seattle for a 4th rounder, I believe. He trades a Mark Brunell, I believe, for a 5th rounder to the Jags. Both players actually play for him. Brunell was very good. Aaron Brooks had some moments. He had a whip of an arm. Aaron Brooks, oh, by the way, Ron Wolf then drafts Matt Hasselbeck. Okay? And then trades Matt Hasselbeck in a battle between the Dolphins and Seattle. Wani offered a 2nd rounder. Seattle offered the 1st rounder. They traded Matt Hasselbeck to Seattle and even went to the Super Bowl with him. He was a good quarterback, a very good quarterback. He would have been a very good quarterback for us if he would have gotten the trade, but Wani only offered a 2nd rounder. I digress. Anyway, Aaron Brooks suffers a shoulder injury for the Saints. The tear in his shoulder wasn't exactly the same. It was in a different spot, but the New Orleans Saints doctors had a history already rehabbing a shoulder. So they felt way more comfortable going after Drew Brees because they had already experienced a rotator cuff tear to a prior quarterback of theirs. But the Dolphins, at that time, they never had that experience. Like most teams, it was kind of new to you. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, whoa, it was kind of like when I was a kid, you tore an ACL, you were, bro, you weren't coming back ever the same again. You were going to be half the player, all that kind of stuff. When Bernard King came back in the day, we were all like, did you see that? Like now they come back all the time from knee surgeries. But when Bernard King did it, it was some shit. It was like something like it was godlike that year. It was one of the greatest basketball seasons you could enjoy for a player that I could care less about the team, but you admired the hell out of the heart of Bernard King to come back and he would not allow himself to walk out of that game how he was broken down. He was going to come back and be Bernard King again. And you admired the shit out of that. You know what I'm saying? But it was back in the day when knee surgeries were done, bro. You were done. You know what I mean? And so they had the experience. So they were able to take the Drew Brees chance where the Dolphins don't. Context, information, know exactly what's going on. That way you can talk about what actually happened and why it happened and the decisions that the Dolphins made, the decisions the Saints made. Why did they make those decisions? Well, these are the factors that were involved that a lot of people don't talk about, because they don't realize that Aaron Brooks kind of had some similar injury to Drew Brees. And that was the deciding factor for the Saints over the Dolphins for Drew Brees. It wasn't only the whole thing about are the doctors for the Dolphins saying, no, we'll go with the knee. That was too obvious at that point because you were ahead of knee surgery than you were with shoulder and rotator cuffs and stuff like that. Let's see. Medical staffs have been on a roll the past couple of years. We can all agree on that. Patrick Paul can be coached up to be a force to be reckoned with within the NFL. If Cam Smith can develop and contribute this year, our secondary improves a lot. Yeah, let's see what happens now, right? We'll see what happens with Cam now, and hopefully Weaver gets him and he plays well. And listen, there's a lot of players that, you know, that the first year they're pedestrian, they're not doing. A lot of you were calling me and calling Christian Wilkins an absolute bust his first year. His first year, he was called a bust over and over. You know, and the same people that were crying for him are the same people that were calling him a bust his first year. I'm gonna bring it up here really quick. Let me bring up his stats. Okay. Because if I remember correctly, you know, he was a young player, and this happens that you don't have a great rookie year because you're learning the league. You're still learning how to play the game. You got to learn the techniques and everything that comes with it. It's just not, again, when you get to a job, are you that guy? Okay, so he had 16 games, only had 23 solo tackles. It's kind of, he had 43 and 29 this year, but he used to have 35 and 43 2 years in a row. Then it went down to 29. He had 2 sacks, bust. I mean, they were calling him an absolute bust. Then he had 1.5 his second year. So his first 2 years, he had 3.5 sacks. You know how much bust I got from him? And he played 14 games his second year on top of all of that. By the way, that was the only year, his second year was the only year he had an interception. So Christian Wilkins went from 2, 1.5 sacks. Then he had 4.5 his third year. So his third year, he had more sacks than the first 2 years combined. Then he went down to 3.5. And so even in a contract year, he couldn't do it. And then he had to be tagged for the 5th year and came up with the 9 sacks. And what have we explained about those 9 sacks, ladies and gentlemen? What teams did they come against? Multiple bad teams, right? So he beefed up his sacks on Jets and Patriots games. And then there was another shitty team that there was a couple of shitty teams that he faced, and he just racked up the sacks. You know, it wasn't that he was great. And that's why I told you they didn't value him. But Christian Wilkins grew and became a better player, much better than he was his first year, when many of you were calling him a bust. Remember that? How many of you there in the 345 that are watching will admit you were calling Christian Wilkins a bust the first 2 years? Come on. Come on. There's 345 of you. Some of you will be lying if you don't admit it there on the chat board. You know you did it. You were calling Christian Wilkins a bust the first year or two because I got the phone calls or the texts or the tweets or all of that. And he went from being called a bust the first 2 years to a must sign this offseason for some Dolphins. Some Dolphins were losing their minds when they lost him. Okay? How can I make a donation through Bitcoin? Cash App. Cash Big O Show. That's Cash Big O Show. You can buy and send the Bitcoin right there. Super easy. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Dolphins. Dolphins WJ1. Thank you. How many Pro Bowls has Wilkins been in? Dude, I that's a great question. I apologize there, Paul. I don't know that off the top of my head. Might have been 1, maybe 2. Let me Let me see. Does it say it here? It's a great question, man. I'm not exactly sure, my friend. Maybe somebody can answer that question for me because Sean's not with me, so I don't have a producer to find that kind of stuff for me. Sean helps me with that stuff usually. But that's a great question. Not sure. But I think he might have made one at least, like an alternate, right? He must have made this year, right? He must have made this year, and then I don't know if he made it last year. Again, they weren't keen on signing him. They were like, "Oh my God, we have to have him at $27 million." Yeah, they were like, "Yeah, no, at that price, we good. We're good. We'll take the compensatory pick next year, man. 3/3, because you get two compensatory thirds. I love it, man. This time next year, when we do this show next year, and I better be at a bar next year, so I could do the whole thing. We're gonna have 4 picks on that day. That's pretty freaking cool, man. One as an alternate says man of 1,005 holds. How about that? There you go. Thank you, man of 1,005 holds. Cooper Beebe off the boards to the Cowboys. Well, they needed it, actually. They needed it. They needed to beef up that line. They've been taking some hits there the last couple of years. Do I think both will start in week 1? I hope not. Oh, wait, Paul could start at guard. I don't know yet, my man. I have to. We got to watch. We got to see. I don't know yet. I'm not sure. Now, Chop, yes, I expect Chop to start. Chop and Shaq should start. And you should bring whoever the I always get it confused. The ACL is Chubb, right? So maybe Chubb will come back first, and then Phillips. You can bring them along slowly, and you can piecemeal them along the way. But yeah, I expect Chop to start. I'll be disappointed if he doesn't start. Put it that way. Okay, he needs to start. Wilkins was a constant disruption in the backfield. Sacks don't reflect his effectiveness. Okay, that's fine. Paul has started since he was a freshman and has played 44 career games in college. He has a lot of experience and gave up only 1 sack last year in the Big 12. Yeah, no, he's got great reviews so far from the guys that I talked to. So, and I'm waiting for one more guy, but he probably won't check in with me till I'm off the air, and it'll be like 1 a.m. and he'll send it because I know him. I know he's a late night. He's going to finish all his work. Then when he leaves the building, then is when he'll send me a text, because that's usually what he does. He usually doesn't do it inside the building. So that's the one guy that I am waiting for. It ain't easy being the Big O. No, it's not. It's not easy. It's not easy. But it's fun. It's fun to be able to talk sports for 34 years and pass on information and help people along the way. It's been a lot of fun in that sense. So I can't really complain. I am incredibly blessed. And now that I haven't been more blessed in the last 3.5 years to be able to do this whenever I want. And we have a good group of people that are, supporting us and supporting our sponsors and everything. You can't beat that, man. You just can't beat that. So it's the most satisfying thing that I've ever done, is being able to stand on my own, because most people are going to need a radio station in order to survive. And Sean and I don't need that. We have enough people that will support us in today's world that we don't need a radio signal anymore, because that's passé. Everybody's walking around with one of these. They got a smartphone, they're in a smart car, or they got a smart TV. So they can watch you wherever they're at in the world. It's completely changed. So that's I'm very lucky. I'm very, very lucky. Very lucky to be able to do this. So glad our current front office cut ties with Wilkins. Oh, would you have preferred Blake Fisher over Paul? I was leaning that way, but I don't know much on Paul. I can't tell you that I know enough. I'm going to take their word for it, dude. I'm not smart enough to tell you the difference between the two guys and give you an educated opinion on that one. I need to find out more information from people that actually do this to kind of figure it out, because I can't say I watched all of Paul's tape or all of Fisher's tape so I can really make the kind of determination that you could. So instead of me pulling something out of my ass, I'll tell you, I'm not sure, dude. I have no problem telling you when I don't know something. I don't know, man. And if I know something, bet your ass I'm going to tell you I know. Okay? Bet your ass I'm going to tell you I know. All right? And I will get my point across. You can bet your ass on that too. 12 Dolphins were named Pro Bowl alternates this year, including outside linebacker Bradley Chubb, interior lineman Christian Wilkins second. There you go. Still can't believe Wilkins got nearly $30 million a year. Bless his agent. Exactly. Greer picks good players but sucks at building a team. They've been to the playoffs the last 2 years, something that the Dolphins never do anymore. And he actually hired maybe one of the best offensive minds, and he drafted the best quarterback we've had since Marino. And if they actually stay healthy, they could actually win a playoff game or 2 or 3. Who knows? But they haven't been healthy at the end, and they still sneak into the playoffs. I'm not exactly sure how that's bad team building. Not exactly sure. I don't know how I blame him if Mike McDaniel doesn't stick to the run with something, or, but the team is there. They got to just get it done and stay healthy and all that. But that doesn't make sense. You can't draft well and not be able to build a good team. There's a reason why you're still making the playoffs. I mean, before the last 4 years, okay, where Greer's fully in charge. Now this is the 5th year, right? Fully in charge, or 5 years. This is 6 because we had Flo here 3, and now this guy 2, 5. When was the last time they made the playoffs 2 years in a row? When was that? Like, are we supposed to take that for granted or something? What years were the last time the Miami Dolphins made the playoffs 2 years in a row? Because this guy, the team's completely injury riddled at the end of the year, and they've made the playoffs the last 2 years. He makes it sound that this happens all the time here in the last 20 years. Though they make the playoffs 2 years in a row all the time, and they've got the talent to make it again this year. I did not know that. Let me see. Where is it here? Dolphins. Okay, seasons. Here we go. Where is it? Somebody, it was like, what? Oh, 2000, 2001. Thank you, One-Eyed Jack. Yeah, no, this happens all the time here, dude. All the time. And by the way, at 2000 and 2001, who built those teams? Jimmy, because he built the defense, right? Because that's really what was getting you there, was the defense. So Jimmy did a decent job of at least building a defense, and it got to the playoffs 2 years in a row. So Chris Greer does the same thing, but he doesn't know what he's doing. I love the double standard, bro. No, let's go get another quarterback. No, of course, because every quarterback we've had after Marino has been in the MVP race 2 years in a row. And on that note, there's really only one thing I can do.